we have arrived.
Metal Gear is by far one of gaming's greatest franchises. The characters and storylines have ranged from heartbreaking to the awesome, and then to the downright weird. With Phantom Pain being the last of Kojima's Metal Gear legacy, I wanted to make my first top 10 video about my favorite boss battles of the series. I'm going to be picking these battles from any Metal Gear game, including Phantom Pain and Rising, so watch out for spoilers. And if you want to tell me your favorites in the comments, then please do so, because I'd love to read them. Let's do it! It always disappointed me that Portable Ops was such an underappreciated game. I really liked it. It was the first game to introduce the enemy captures that would continue to appear in later games, and even had some exclusive features like playable bosses or other series veterans. Which is why Python is number 10.
I'm the anti-Snake, and I'm the one man who can break you!
Python is one of the rogue members of Fox, armed with a special liquid nitrogen suit that gives him control over ice. That suit doubles as his greatest strength and his greatest weakness, because he needs the suit just to stay alive. At the beginning, Python creates a thick mist that narrows your vision to only a few feet. The ice attacks make most standard attack options unlikely to work. If you get too close, he can freeze your weapon so that they can't fire, but go too far and you'll lose sight of him in the mist, and he'll start firing ice grenades to freeze you from a distance. The best way to win is just to run and gun, but now you have a choice to make, which is a big reason why I enjoy this battle so much. The majority of the boss fights in the series will still end the same way regardless if you trank them or not, but Python actually got two different endings. If you were to go in guns blazing on a lethal playthrough, you'll destroy his suit, and he'll die without it. But non-lethal players can still spare Python. As a reward, he'll become a playable character, complete with his ice grenades and some strong stats. This fight isn't necessarily one of the series' best, but it's the unique concepts and options of showing mercy to the enemy that reminds me of another game. One that should fill you with some determination. If there was one thing Rising showed me, it's that bosses don't have to be the most difficult to be fun as hell. Give the battle a great setting, a unique concept, good atmosphere, and some kick-ass music, and I will love it forever, which is why Mistral is number 9.
If you would kill for your ideals, then surely you are ready to die for them.
I love this fight, and I love everything related to it. I love her design, her theme, her backstory, and her awesome transforming weapon that fights with the
Real superpower of teamwork!
everything. Mistral's weapon is made up of the arms of those little tripods. You know, those tiny little harmless dudes that you can break in one hit. Who knew those little guys could be so useful? Anyway, she could fight with a variety of different attacks. She has whip lashes, spin attacks, whip grabs, human slingshots, and fireballs? Oh, those poor little guys. With all that going on, it's no real surprise that oil refinery you're fighting in gets wrecked so quickly. But it's okay, because it makes for an awesome backdrop for the final battle. And oh man, that music is amazing!
This ends now!
For being everything that I love in a boss fight and ending it in such an over-the-top and amazing way, Mistral will always remain one of my all-time favorites of the series. Oh, and A Stranger I Remain is my favorite song from Rising, so, you know, bonus points for that. Well, I guess she's the cold wind of France for 2 reasons now. The death of the boss was the event that shaped the series into what it is. She was such a great character that I didn't want to see her go, but what should I feel about Peace Walker? So, the boss's personality was remade and put into a walking nuke shooter with a flamethrower dick? How about that? This is without a doubt the best mech battle in Peace Walker. The countdown to nuclear launch has started, and once again it's your job to save the world. Only now you can bring some friends, which is nice. This concept of stopping a mech before it fires its nuke has always been prevented before it ever got the chance. This time, there's an actual countdown timer ticking down, which adds real urgency. When it's on screen, your sole focus is stopping that timer, and it's game over if you don't. But she's not going to just sit there and soak up damage, because Peace Walker fights very differently from any other mech in the series. Instead of the occasional machine gun or rocket launcher attack that we've seen a million times, she's got drilling missiles, EM shields, dive bombs, ram attacks, a super jump, a freeze ray, and the previously mentioned flamethrower dick. Okay, I lied, I can't be serious. I just cannot get over how weird that is. I'll be honest, I'm not really a fan of the mech battles of the series. They all have different bodies, but their attacks are just copy-pasted again and again. But Peace Walker was memorable. It had unique weaponry, a genuine sense of urgency, and it was another bittersweet goodbye to the boss. But at least now she can have some peace, right? Oh, come on, are you kidding me? And now we're going back to Rising. While I do love Mistral and her battle, I have to admit that it lacked the build-up that the best series bosses have. Rising's cast of villains unfortunately all suffer from that. Either they lack the character depth to be interesting, or they don't get the screen time to be worth taking any advantage of it. Luckily that's not the case at all with number 7.
Samuel Rodriguez.
Platinum Games didn't waste any time giving you that need for revenge that apparently was so great, they had to make up a word for it. In just the first hour of the game, you're given the death of Prime Minister Namani and Raiden getting his ass handed to him by Sam, who ends up losing his eye and his arm. Again. But we're not done here, we have a whole adventure to do. So get a shiny new body, a fancy hat, and unleash your darkest potential. Yeah, I think that'll do for another go.
Okay. Let's dance.
Sam's attacks come fast and powerful, making the need for your reaction time, parrying, and combos to be at its absolute best. But the battle itself is actually pretty straightforward. Sam uses his Murasama to unleash devastating combos and dash attacks, but with a well-timed parry you can actually smack the sword right out of his hand. And while for most people that would put them at the disadvantage, it doesn't really bother him. Barehanded, Sam's attacks are way more unpredictable than when he had the sword, relying on powerful kicks, grabs, and throws that do just as much damage as he did before. But it's only a brief break from the sword, so when he's finally ready to take it back, it's time to finish this fight. Now, unlike the rest of the boss battles in the game, including the final boss, Sam was the only character to not die from a Zandatsu. Their rivalry ends with a more respectful finish, which I think is a fitting end to my favorite Rising character.
Blackout. I am Psycho Mantis.
For many people out there, Psycho Mantis is the single greatest boss fight in the series, and possibly for all of gaming. And I can see why they think that. He, after all, knows me so well.
You seem to like The Legend of Zelda, don't you?
Mantis is a master psychic whose favorite hobby involves doing some weird, mind-scarringly horrible things to the fourth wall. He could turn off your screen. He could teleport away from you. He could turn almost everything in that office into something to kill you with. Even Kojima's own face. Just look how happy trolling people makes him. And I can't blame him for that. It was the interactions with the player that made this fight so amazing. It only made number 6 for me though, because of his mind reading. If you're going up against Mantis for the first time, then you're in for a great battle. One of the greatest in the series. Until you find out how to break his mind reading, you're not going to be able to just attack him. And your average person won't figure it out right away.
Yeah, I don't know what to do.
Dude, you gotta plug the controller into the second controller port. Colonel tells you.
Oh.
And that was fun. It was a challenge that I enjoyed a lot. But if you're coming through another playthrough, then you already know his trick. And his attacks just aren't enough by themselves. The battle hasn't changed at all, it's still fun. But without that novelty, you're practically able to skip through this fight. I really do like it, but for that, I just can't put it any higher. The Beauty and the Beast are among the most tragic villains of the series. Each one has a very depressing backstory that has led to some questionable reasons for fighting, but at least they have a unique way of fighting. The B&Bs take aspects of a character from each of the previous Metal Gear Solid games. The name of a Foxhound member, the weapons from a Dead Cell member, and one of the emotions of the Cobra unit. Crying Wolf came close, but my favorite of the four was actually the very first. Similar to Mantis, Laughing Octopus has a gimmick-style battle that gets easier the more you play, but I get more enjoyment out of this one because there's more variety to it. Octopus has the most interesting combo of the four B&Bs. Being based on Decoy Octopus, has the weapons of Solid as Snake and the emotion of the Joy, aka the boss. That's a pretty awesome combo. While she can't fire rockets from her tentacles like Solidus could, she still gets way more uses out of hers. They increase her mobility, she could smack away bullets, she'll even dive through the windows and the roof in order to catch you off guard. She can curl into a ball and smash into you, and she can latch onto the ceiling to shoot you from above. If you manage to wound her enough, she'll release a cloud of ink smoke in order to disappear, and like her octopus namesake, she can camouflage herself into almost everything in that lab. She could be that dead body. She could be that lab equipment. She can even be a robot. Wait, how does that work? So though her hiding faces and hiding places are known after the first or second try, I think the rest of the battle is great on its own even without it. While sadly I can't find the source anymore, I did read somewhere that Hideo Kojima originally intended a similar concept to be used in a boss fight with Decoy Octopus in the first game. Technical limitations on the PS1 kept this from being made a reality, but it's nice to see his dream come to life after all those years. Good for you, Kojima. Coming in at number 4, we have the ultimate battle from MGS3. The battle with Naked Snake's greatest opponent. I speak, of course, of the fight with the legendary Ladder. No, it's actually the boss. Close second though, buddy. You were top notch. The boss has been mentioned in several of my entries, but now it's time that I give her the credit she deserves. It's not an understatement to say that this is the origin point for everything major in the series. This rematch has been a long time coming. Every encounter you've had with the boss so far has ended with you on the floor with your pride hurt and some part of you broken. And hey, if you don't watch out, this won't be any different. Now, I'll give you guys that this is a bit of a stretch, but you could compare the fight with the boss to something akin to, say, Dark Link from The Legend of Zelda. She fights just like Snake does. She doesn't call for any reinforcements or use any supernatural powers. It is a battle with skills that you both have, testing your mastery of the things that she taught you at the beginning of the game. It might not be a difficult battle, but it's certainly an emotional one. In fact, this might be the only boss battle in the series that I actually don't want to do. Several times throughout the game, the boss has asked you where your loyalties are. I think he spends the whole game trying to figure out that question. The boss was his mentor, the one who taught him everything he knows, the one who effectively made him who he is today. But to prevent all-out nuclear war between the United States and Russia, Snake has to make a choice. Now I know that this is just my opinion, but when the time finally comes and the boss is defeated, I don't think Snake can make the decision, and that's why it's up to the player to make the choice for him.
There's only room for one boss and one Snake.
A sniper battle is something that Metal Gear does better than any standard shooter. They all have unique differences from one another, but the similarities are enough that I think I can count this one as a tie. So number 3 goes to my favorite 2 snipers of the series.
I beg of you, grant me the strength to take this final prey.
Now, I'm probably by myself with this one, I can admit that, but for me at least, these two embody what Metal Gear is better than any other boss. As much as I love when this series goes over the top, it's sometimes great to just see what classic stealth warfare with a Kojima twist is like. Since the fights have no music, you get to rely on your sense of sound to help locate where they are. I remember the first time I battled the End, I was terrified. I mean, with a name like The End, you can't get much more self-explanatory than that, can you really blame me? The normal fight was already a ton of fun, but then I found out the game developers added even more ways to screw with this fight. It's probably why I enjoy replaying it so much. Do you sneak up behind him and steal his camo? Do you wait for him to die of old age? Or what's likely the funniest thing in all of Metal Gear, you could shoot him in his wheelchair earlier in the game, which bypasses the fight altogether. That many options, he had to be high on this list. Unfortunately, his non-lethal rifle kinda takes away from any real danger that he poses. But hey, that's not too bad, it leads us into our other sniper. Quiet is a faster, deadlier, and much better to look at alternative to the End. Like the skulls you fought before, she could turn invisible, run ridiculously fast, and do some crazy high jumps that take her from one part of the stage to another instantly. And unlike our good friend the End, she's using real bullets. What most people see right away, for two obvious reasons, is her outfit, or, lack thereof. But it's actually well suited for blending into the arena you're in with the ruins and the cliff sides. She can even heal in the sunlight now. There's no doubt in my mind that she is the best first boss battle in the series, especially compared to the small, confined shootouts of the previous games. But hey, if I haven't convinced you that she's a good enough fight on her own, or you think she's too easy because she's the first boss, then there's always Mission 40 against her Sniper Wolf version, where she kills you in one shot. Either version is a great battle, and they give some great rewards. It took a long time for the lethal, non-lethal differences to come back in a game, but I am so happy they did! Quiet was likely the best partner in the game, and I really enjoyed fighting alongside her. And when it was time for the long-awaited reunion mission, I got to have some fun with the box trick.
That's the Snake I remember. Those poor fools won't know what hit them. Take care of the box, and it'll take care of you.
You might remember earlier in the video when I said, I'll be honest, I'm not really a fan of the mech battles of the series. Now, how can we resolve that issue? Well, you give me one of my own. I had no idea how badly I wanted this until it happened. After all these years of destroying Metal Gears, you are finally given the chance to play as one of your own. It was a pretty short experience, but it gave me everything that I could possibly want. It ended in the ultimate Metal Gear battle. Metal Gear Rex versus Metal Gear Ray, the aquatic model that's designed to be a Rex killer. What could go wrong? Pretty much everything in the arena is destructible, so watching these large structures crumble away as these two are blasting at each other is super cool. Rex has a multitude of ways to defend itself. It has a Gatling gun, it has a rocket launcher, its lasers, CQC somehow, and those legs. It's a short fight, which is the reason why it's lower on most people's opinions. But no battle before or since has been like this. Ray has been battled more than any other boss in the series, and each time it's put up a good fight. But the reason I chose this one over the others isn't just because of Rex, but because of the entire chapter building up to it. Going back to Shadow Moses Island, having another shootout with A, Sniper Wolf, and killing Vamp with the sun gun was hilarious. Then Raiden shows up and shows how much of a badass he is when he takes Vamp out. Everybody gets a win in this chapter, and then promptly loses it. Except for Otacon, he just flat out got screwed. Before I count down to my number one pick, here are a couple honorable mentions. When you're ending something as great as Metal Gear Solid, you have to make sure that you end with a big bang! I couldn't have put it better myself.
Show me what you've got, Snake!
For me, Liquid Ocelot was the perfect end to the franchise. I've talked about how much build-up means to me, and this battle, this one was built up more than any other, and it definitely delivered. The final battle against Liquid is split into 4 parts for each Metal Gear Solid game, where the music, health bars, and even how Liquid fights change to represent each game as you quite literally beat the Ocelot back into him. While it is a callback to their first battle, as the two are battling atop another Metal Gear with no weapons other than their fists, we are still reminded of just how far the characters and even we as players have come. Snake and Liquid aren't pulling any punches this fight. It's a brutal display of both of their CQC skills, as Liquid Ocelot only improves upon it as the battle continues. With each new version of himself, he keeps fighting less and less like Liquid and begins to fight more as Ocelot, becoming more dangerous and CQC combo savvy instead of relying on the football tackles and falcon punches. Playing through this for the first time as a huge Ocelot fan, I was really excited to see he was slowly coming back. After finding out everything from Eva in Chapter 3, I really wanted to save him, even though I didn't think it was going to be possible. It added even more of a stake to a fight that I was already fully invested in. Metal Gear has had a long road with a lot of games, but this is where it ends. I know the series continued on into Phantom Pain, but for me, this will always be the crown jewel of the series. It wrapped up Metal Gear's legacy in a cinematic, emotional, and completely amazing way. And that's why Liquid Ocelot is my all-time favorite boss battle from the Metal Gear Solid series. Hey you guys, I want to thank you so much for sticking with me through my first video. If you enjoyed it and might consider clicking the like and subscribe button, I would be really grateful. And if you want to tell me your favorites, or you just want to call me an idiot for my choices, then please do so in the comments section below. I'd love to read them. Take care, you guys.
You're pretty